Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello there.
How are you? Good? Nice. Okay. So, I'm Nicolò Cuccì, and I'm the creator of Baracchino, which is an Italian animated series.
And I'm Andrea Cigognetti, the CG soup of the series.
Yeah. So we did a series. So let's watch the trailer first.
Guardo te, guardo là. Questo locale è stato proprio il tempio della comicità. Noi finalmente questa sera organizzeremo una di quelle serate.
Ho detto di no!
Ho capito che sei arrabbiato, però mi sembra un po' eccessivo.
Avevo qualche dubbio sul chiudere questo locale. Non ne ho più.
Operazione Nostalgia.
Buonasera, merdacce.
È qui che si guarda la stand-up comedy.
Non quel tipo di nostalgia.
Quella non era maionese.
Qualcuno ha detto tiki-tuka?
La morte non è che l'inizio.
È morto di Gre!
Mi spieghi perché ci tieni così tanto?
Ma perché nel baracchino c'è tutto questo pezzo di vita di Tatiana, tutti questi ricordi.
È questo il problema.
Solo perché tu sei un fallito non vuol dire che debba esserlo anch'io.
The show must go on. Devi aprire quella bocca.
Vi starete chiedendo chi è Tatiana?
È venuta fuori un paio di episodi fa. E non siete dei comici, siete dei pagliacci.
Noi!
Io qua sto cercando di fare una cosa bella, una, e mentre mi sbraccio e mi stresso a quello non frega niente.
Forse anche Maurizio vuole fare una cosa bella, anche se magari non sa per chi.
Intanto tu non dire niente agli altri.
Taccerò come tacqui su quella faccenda della Gioconda. Mannaggia me... nulla! Alla prossima!
Thanks. So, a lot of stuff going on, as you saw. So this is Baracchino. It's the first Amazon original animated series in Italy, and it's the first adult animation original IP. So we were lucky enough to do that. I'm one of the creators, together with Salvo Di Paola, which is a comedian. This is a very professional picture of us that we took the night that we told us that we are greenlit, and that we could do the series. So we had to do it somehow, and we decided to use blend software. I don't know if you're familiar with. And yeah, so today we want to tell you the story about how we ended up doing a series on Blender, and I will do that, and then Andrea will tell you
A little bit about the pipeline behind it and how the Blender Studio pipeline ended up being like the backbone of the whole series.
Yeah, so let's go back to 2020, which is my favorite year. Yes. So in 2020, we did this. So let's watch another video.
And then I said, honey, that is not honey, that is not a chair. That is your mother. She left me anyway, so.
So we did this short clip. We have no idea what the fuck it was. And it was just 4 friends from high school in a garage that we used to call studio, doing whatever came up to our minds. And we were bored as fuck doing commercials for Italian wines. And we ended up doing a sculpture of a pigeon, a way to avoid drawing hands by taking pictures of them on green screen, and live action reference videos for the animators, and just having fun, basically. And everything started with this email that Salvo sent to a comedian. He's a very famous Italian comedian, Luca Ravenna, and total random, we wrote to him on Instagram and just answered, and we asked him do you want to do an animated project? We don't even know what is it. He said, yes. So then we got some money, and money is good for making animation. So there was not a lot of money, but we took it and we flew to Rome, as you can see on this picture at the Colosseum, and we recorded some voice acting with the comedians. They are basically the main stand-up comedians in Italy, and it was great. So now we had, at that moment, we had cool voice acting and vague idea of the story, but we don't know if it was a mini-series format for Instagram. We don't know what it was. And a little bit amount of money. And we met one person. And I don't know if you know him, but yeah. So we met Francesco, and how did we meet Francesco? So again, super random. Professor from a course I was not going to told me that a friend of his was working at Blender, and I should send him an email. And so we sent the same video, and he just answered and said, let's have a call. So we talked, and slowly he became a friend for me, and basically my therapist somehow. Like, so because he answers every text I send him and every call, and I want to take this moment to really say thank you, Fra, for everything you did for me and for the studio. So yeah. What he told me in the actual call was focus on storytelling. This is the main thing he told me, in general, not only on the project. It was basically a mindset that I switched to after he told me. And so when you get to know him, basically two things happened in the studio. We get the chance to get to know amazing artists such as Andrea and Nicolò Stamore there, that helped with the rigging, and a lot of other people, Saskia Bulletti, Alessia Renoci, Gabriele Scudiero, a lot of other people that helped. And we set up the studio together with Fra, of course, because why not? And at a certain point, we got green lit. So, at a certain point, as you can picture, years passed during these lights. And we got the real money to do that. So, let's talk about how we did that. So we switched to Blender officially. And in the first video you saw, we didn't know anything about 3D. Just a little bit maybe, but like the wall was just a PNG and the floor was just another PNG oriented in After Effects. That was the whole 3D we did until that. And we animated in total 9 minutes of animation in our lives when we were 22 years old. And like now we had to do 100 minutes. Like, this was the ratio. So switching to Blender was very convenient because we had a very ambitious project in mind, and not only the software, but also the mission, the philosophy, and everything about Blender Studio and Blender pipeline. So basically, we emulated the Blender Studio pipeline one-to-one. So the main thing for us, speaking of storytelling, was the storyboard and the script writing. So what changed, the first thing that changed when we switched to Blender was the way we thought about storytelling. So we used to do storyboard on paper, like randomly on Post-it, in printer sheets, and we switched to, with Alessia Renoci, she's the story supervisor of the studio now, and she's the director of our next big project, and teasing, sorry. And so we switched to this pipeline where we could do 3D previews with 2D animated characters on grease pencil. And this was really a game changer for us. Because as you can see, we could do camera movement on sets with 2D drawn characters. And the layout is almost the same, as you can see. Like, this is the layout of the final render that went to Prime Video, and this is the storyboard. And this is just amazing for us. So the way we switched to 3D story with GP really changed our way of thinking about script writing, because the creators of the projects and the script writers can be in touch with the filmmaking in general and with the artists. So the gap between having an idea and seeing with a camera movement was so short that really writing became a collective experience and not just a guy writing letters on Final Draft. So this was amazing. Then of course, we used everything about the Blender pipeline, which is all documented in blender.org, and we used everything as one shared subversion, everything. And of course, Kitsu, which is the other big thing that changed. So I used to organize things with Post-it on the fridge and WhatsApp messages to Salvo. Now we have Kitsu. And it's amazing because basically everything revolves around Kitsu, and you can take a look at the concepts, say what do you like about it, and read the comment by the artist. And now there's a demo of the Kitsu interface that you're gonna look at. Engaging. And yeah, you can go to the shots. Let's watch episode 3 shots. Yeah, because we had Kitsu with episodes, which is pretty cool. So this is sequence 120, and we take a look at the storyboard. Then you can switch to the layout or to the animation, and you can even loop it. You can split screen it with another task. So, for example, here I want to compare animation with actual lighting, and it's amazing, and it really changed everything. So, for example, here I'm doing something that I never did in the actual production. I'm marking an error after the shots is already lit on the animation task.
Never happened.
Never happened. And yeah, and of course I always check my notifications. I did this screenshot yesterday. And the other thing that changed was, of course, the way we thought about editorial. So the pipeline was revolving about the editorial. So you have back and forth with every department that kept on going to editorial. So everything started with storyboard, as I mentioned, and there's a back and forth with editorial. Then asset creation for layout, as you saw, and then characters, and then layout, animations, sound design, lighting, everything basically is a circle that keep doing this ping pong with editorial. And we edited the series in Blender. And this is a finalized episode. Like everything you see here, every layer is one of the tasks, and this is a finished episode, just right before exporting it. Yeah, the last thing that I want to mention, and then I will let Andrea talk about Blender magic wizardry, is the art direction, which was like my main thing in the production. And there was many styles, as you saw, because it's a mixed media story and movie. No, it's not a movie, it's a series. And so we had stop motion, because this is what we were proficient with. We did a lot of stop motion, so we put a lot of puppets in it. And we had puppetry on green screen. And then we had also 2D animated characters that we handled a little bit inside of Blender with GPA, a little bit with a rig that Andrea's gonna show soon, a little bit in Moho. But basically, we have all sorts of things. So everything that was not possible doing in Blender was done in the most efficient way to go as fast as possible inside of Blender. And then, of course, the series is in 3D. And because it's like, it's mixed media, of course, but it's basically 3D-centric. So maybe we realized we needed a 3D artist. And so that's where Andrea came in. And again, with the connections of Francesco, this is the test for the application that Andrea sent like 2 days after we had a phone call. And after stop crying out of joy after I saw this, I asked him if he wanted to do the project. So now you can guess he accepted it. So now he will tell you how he did it. Thanks.
Thanks, Nico. Hello there. Look at Darwin going. Sorry about it. I made this shot by night because at that point in time in my life, I was like escaping from a toxic work environment in the VFX industry. So I decided to go to Brussels for a couple of weeks since my fiancé was working there. And then I realized that Brussels, Amsterdam is like a couple of hours and the Blender Institute is there. So let's try to have an open tour of the Blender Institute. And I have the luck to meet Francesco, best human being ever I ever met, sincerely. And halfway through the tour, I was like, oh, maybe you're interested into my show reel. And he was looking at it, and he went like, you looking for a job? I was like, yes, definitely I am. So that's how I ended up in Palermo, because the stuff you find a job in Palermo from Amsterdam. And that was surreal, but he put me in a connection with Nico. And the pitch of the series was just mind-blowing, because it was like an Italian comedy, adult animation show, mixed media, inspired by the amazing world of Gumball. And for me, it was like a dream come true. So I ended up being in Palermo for part of the production, and the first thing we focused on was like building an environment, because I arrived that the production was already started. They were working on the story, the layout, all the fancy stuff that Nico showed you before, and was great. And most of the layout artists, great illustrators, great people, and was really fun to work with them. Were just figuring out how the blocking of the sets will work. So the first thing we focused on with also Cecilia Picciotto, that's the sculptress for the puppet of the pigeon, but also the 3D artist. Yeah, we figured out how to block the layout, and in those, I think was 2 days, we spent 2 days together. We did the blocking for the set that ended up being the final for it, and then started like building on top of it a lot of details and a lot of ping pong through the 2D Viz Dev department, because they're also great people, Caterina Fratellocchi, Bartolo D'Angelo, and Yuri Agostinelli, really great. And well, we started building the actual set that you can see here. This is the final file, the blend file, and everything is in the same file. The organization, the collection structure was really important, because it was linked to the Kitsu and the shot builder add-on that allowed us to set up really quickly the animation, the layout, the animation, and the lighting shots. And the sets works like a puzzle. As you can see here, it's like each and every room is marked as an asset and is built like to connect it with one and the other. Another thing really fun to work with was like having all the concepts all together. Organizing your work is really important. I know it sounds like obvious, but PureRef ended up being the right tool for me. Another free open source software that allowed us to put all the concepts together. And for instance, an iteration we had with the concept art stage was like having the basic model laid up for the concept artist, then have an overpaint on top of it, and then try to match it up in the final result. As you can see here, sometimes through getting the mood, and other times also project mapping and texture painting directly from the concept. Another way we interacted together, in this case with Yuri, Yuri Agostinelli, the concept artist, was like having is it part? Oh, right. There we go, sorry. Yeah, scaling up, understanding the proportions, then getting the mood, and then translating that in the actual set. So as I told you, this was really interesting approach to it, because it allowed us to have like the concept and the texturing process all together. And we use it not only for the set environments, but also for characters. For instance, the key shot approach, we call it like that, was like really important also in understanding like the mood and each and every character, because we had like these 3D models, basic 3D models early during the early rigging stage. And of course, like the production, you can understand, is a pretty punk project, and also the production was pretty punk. Everything was happening at the same time, everything all at once. So, of course, we were a really small team, and we needed to optimize our assets. Rigging the character was like something that was happening together with set construction, stuff like that, building the pipeline and stuff like that. So we had to rely on to Blender, for instance, and its tool, its powerful tools. For instance, this character, Marco, you can tell is basically Rigify. yeah, we added a secondary route, and that's basically it. But we ended up also experimenting a little bit with some concept, because the approach of the series was still a lot of 2D. It was like thinking in 2D in order to get 3D. So, for instance, we had like Gaia Picciotto, great 2D animators that provided us with the facial expression of Marco, and we replicated that exactly through shape keys. The little panel you can see here, those are shape keys, and yeah, we could achieve that through pose libraries, but we decided to go with shape keys because those were like the exact match, and on top of it, you could have like the pose deformation still working. So it was a concept that we ended up using also for most complex character of the series. For instance, here you can tell this is Regify, as you can see from it, but the facial setup is completely different. We ended up using a UV warp modifier, and we know that Jerry needed to be like, yeah, you can tell it's miserable, poor Jerry. It's like this awkward character that would have a lot of funky and clunky facial expression. So the shrink wrap constraint onto mesh deform was the way to go to get like really a lot of freedom of iterations. Yeah, Picasso. There he goes. Look at him going. Oops. And of course, on top of the UV warp modifier, so 2D approach, you could also pose it in pose mode, poor Jerry. And here's like a shot of him going.
Ma sono pieni di gente che si lamenta, ma che allo stesso tempo non segue quelle regoline che servono a viaggiare meglio.
È molto specifico, io non so se capisco.
Tipo quelli che hanno l'imbarco dalla porta posteriore, ma se ne fregano ed entrano da quella anteriore.
Non mi sembra un gran...
E poi si fanno tutto il corridoio in contromano per raggiungere il loro posto di merda, paralizzando completamente il cazzo di aereo.
Non l'avevo mai sentito dire.
E magari arrivano al loro posto e mettono lo zainetto nella cappelliera invece dello scompartimento sotto il sedile.
Non si può fare.
La cappelliera è per i trolley! Il bagaglio piccolo va riposto sotto il sedile di fronte a te! Dove stracazzo lo metto il trolley adesso che è tutto pieno dei vostri zainetti di merda, eh? Dove cazzo minchione lo metto il merda cazzone di trolley? In culo!
Well, of course, the merit is to the animators as well, Gabriele Scuderio, and the lighting, Saskia Polletti. So, and the same principle I showed you just before for the rigging, we ended up using like a different level, cranking up to 11 for other characters, because of course, as I told you, we have limited amount of time and limited amount of resources, so we had to focus on some stuff, and it was a really fun thing to work on this character. This is like Leonardo da Vinci, and the concept by Bartolomeo, and from the beginning we decided to use the same idea that ended up being the foundation for Jerry face, like the UV warp slider connected to a driver. As you can see, most of the work was like calibrating, and this was like the first test we made with Bart to understand the amount of poses we needed in order to get like this paper cutout feeling on top of it. As you can see from the driver, most of it was calibrating. And this is basically the characters as well, because it's like 5 tiles, and the final texture we ended up using in production. And once it's mapped on the model, it's kind of ugly. It's like 2.5D, those are just boxes. But I think in the end, the rigging was really a ton of fun to work on. Did we need to make like the interface, the user interface renaissance? No, we didn't at all, but we ended up doing that because that was fun. And of course, the UV warp the UV warp modifier was like the foundation of the Leonardo's rig, as well as like, yes, pretty simple EK, FK chains. But another thing interesting was like using geometry nodes for the mouth. That's a curve connected to some bones, but the gradient inside of it was like allowed procedurally through geometry nodes. And the mouth was all achieved through shaders. And also the same, this is curves rigged onto the rig. And this is like the turning through UV warp and calibration of the driver I was talking you about before. And we ended up using this method also for Leonardo's props. You can see it here.
Sono un po' sorpreso non mi abbia riconosciuto. Insomma, ho inventato il sommergibile, la bicicletta, lo spremiogrumi energia eolica. Onestamente mi dispiace per lui. Si vede che non maneggia spesso le 50.000 lire.
That was my favorite part of it, my favorite character, you will see this. Talking about characters, this was the main character, so we ended up spending most of the R&D and money onto Claudia. Starting from the concept, the iteration by Caterina Fratellocchi, I think there's like really expressive, great concept, a lot of rubber rose, olive oil from Popeye feeling, but also with a touch of Artman onto it. So it's basically a 2D stop motion character, as you can see from the poses. And it was the first concept, the first like refined concept that Nico approved. We ended up having like the 3D characters, is like the third from the left. And how do you achieve of course, bendy arms? Through bendy bones, of course. So I ended up like linking the bendy bone through the Rigify. That was the foundation of most of the characters through the ciliars, because of course, why not? Is a solid tool. And the nice thing was like it was built on top of it, so it would like add to the EK chain, and the tweak and the poses was like octopus. Sorry, got distracted again. Well, the same approach I was talking before, the keyshot approach, overpainting, was like the same for facial expression as well. For instance, here we had like the 3D rendition of Claudia before she was rigged, and these are the facial expression drawn from the storyboard directly. And we ended up like setting up this really, really nice system for me. I'm kind of proud of it. It was based onto the shape key selector by Niall Stenson, Niall Vertex Arcade Stenson. And of course, you can pose it thanks to the wizardry in programming of Inês Almeida. You can pose it as you like, and you can mix the same poses. It's pretty intuitive for animation to mix and match this facial crazy expression. But of course, this is not the only rigged part of it, because it was also rigged through the classic way of rigging, as you can see. So you could like tweak and put Claudia in some really, really crazy poses that would have been like a lot difficult to achieve through only traditional rigging. So I'm pretty happy with the setup we actually developed, and you can see it in action.
Non sai cosa t'aspetta. Operazione nostalgia. Non quel tipo di nostalgia. Stacca, va?
Eccoci qui. Scusa.
Last but not least, talking about rigging. So sorry, I just love enjoying talking about rigging, because it's like the concept is those little things, those little concepts you have, once you combine them together, that starts becoming something really, really complex. And about complexity, this was supposed to be like Claudia under anger, management issues, and well, of course, I couldn't figure out a way to turn that rig into this one. So we ended up like at first trying that in clay motion, because Nico wanted to explore the clay motion way. Why not? And we did a test in Blender and fake Claymotion, and yeah, Nico wouldn't like it. So we tried to map it into a mesh, the actual concept by Caterina. And I had proficiency with turning 2D works of art into like rakes. So this is the final result. And the mesh is pretty simple. Also the rig is like two EK chains, and the animators were really good with it. And it was a really clunky and smart and really fast way to do that, because we needed to like do a lot of anger management moments during the series, as you can see from here. And well, of course, the rigs are just part of the job. Most of it was like the animators, and we don't talk. I don't talk about animation. It's like the Fight Club, but Nico will.
Yeah, just briefly, because the animation supervisor is not here, Gabriele Scudiero, and all the team, there are like 8 animators. I could name them all, but I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, this is just a glimpse on the Bibles that they used, that Gabriele and Monica Eggert made. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit of the foundation of it, because as a director, I really wanted the animation to be the common field for every style. So we have a mixed media show, but we wanted the animated characters to feel consistent. So we developed a style that was consistent for every character. It doesn't matter if you're animating in stop motion or in Moho or in 3D inside of Blender, you're gonna use the same principles. And the principles were like a 2D animation approach in general. So like you have drone poses, but grounded. So like you have kind of a whatever you want to do, like as if you were drawing, with every technique you're using, 3D, as Andrea showed you with the incredible rig of Claudia. But everything was like facing the camera, looking good, and that's it. And of course, we had to do a lot of seconds per week. The quota was super high. It was like in the climax of the production was like 40 seconds per week for animator, 20 seconds, within 20 and 40 seconds for animator per week. So it's like a lot. So we didn't do any splining, and we did just holds and stepped animation. And we gave the animators the agency to decide if it was on 2s, on 3s, on 4s, whatever they wanted. And that was it. So the next topic is how you put it all together, right?
Yeah, because you have the rigging, you have the animation, now you have to deliver the final result. And of course, it was a 4K 6-episode series, 24 frames per second, and we know from the beginning we would ended up using Eve, but not only because Eve is fast, but also because it's great into like rendering NPR. And I had a lot of fun exploring this world of NPR rendering, and we had to look into the Blender version 3.6 because the rig wouldn't translate well, and because you don't change the Blender version during production. That would be like crazy. I know it's like. Well, and also through Eve, we ended up like avoiding the post-production department, because first of all, we didn't have any compositor at all. And I was coming from the VFX industry, and I didn't want to like have a lot of layers to actually work around. And so we had to cut corners, and it was really great tool for it, because a lot of characters were like on cards. Having that into the 3D space is a great tool, because you can lag it up with the rest of the series. We ended up calling that real-time comp, and you can have a glimpse of it. Of course, there's like Luca, the pigeon was stop motion animated, and here is like the lighting was known from the beginning, because of course we had like the layout process, and stop motion was working with the lighting process as well. Here is like a shot with effects and stop motion puppetry, 3D characters all together in the same shot. And here's the crowd that Gaia Picciotto worked on. The Donato character, all those characters, most of them are coming from Hoho, I think, except the jellyfish that's from The Office. That is like the only recycled render. And those was like rendered on the same tile in order to optimize the shot. And talking about optimization and getting like the mood right, here's like animation shader onto a cube. It's just simple as well. But that ended up being like the great tool to get this noir feeling, this suggestion of studio lighting from top of it, and was achieved through like overscanning the actual camera in order to get like the glare from top to bottom. The same idea ended up being like the foundation for the vignette method. It's like we use that in order to mask stuff, create like a fake ray tracer feeling, like give some depth to the render from here. The same here, you can see the vignette used for the glaring, and of course, how do you fake like a mirror in Eve? Just like duplicating the animation output, and it's just specular as like that. This is like simple shot in the end. Spoiler, there is an episode that is in color. And well, that's basically it. It's a project map of the concept, and in the shader there is like a null. You can drag the hole through an empty and then make the animation output reflected from it. But of course, this is just a glimpse into the production. Of course, it wasn't like me and Nico that made the series. It's like a really great team working all together to get like this amazing project to life. And now I'm gonna let Nico talk. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah, so it's a lot of stuff going on, as I told you. So I just wanted to mention in the end that there was a lot of people involved. The team was small, but still we were like about 20 people working on it. And while we were doing Baracchino, we realized that we were actually doing Megadrago, which is a very romantic and emotional sentence, but it's true, because like when you do an animated project, you end up meeting a lot of people, and it's like a collaborative efforts of a lot of people, and it's amazing. Like it's the best part of it was working with all these young people that we had the chance to meet and build a team and the studio. So it was amazing because everyone puts a little bit one idea in it. So, of course, my name, Salvo's name, it's under the main title because we had these stupid ideas in 2020. But the reality is that we didn't even write it alone. Like, Andrea put a lot of ideas in it, and every artist put a lot of ideas that influenced the script a lot. And this was just amazing because it's how you do the series, like with people, basically. So let's just watch the final clip. And then if you have questions or if you want to talk later, we are super happy to do that. Thanks.
Siamo fottuti.
Let's talk at the bar. I prefer it. What do you say? It's easier. It's cooler.
Thanks.